Brooklyn, Michigan, as NASCAR 2000 and ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports, presents the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series.
16 races into the season, momentum could be shifting to the Dodge camp after taking the pole and the top 2 spots on the podium at Nazareth. Following 2 wins in the first 5 races of NASCAR 2000, the Rams hit the wall. But a turnaround may be in sight. Both Randy Tolsma and Steve Grissom have posted top 5s in 2 of the last 3 races, while the Dana Dodges have benefited from the expertise of Fred Wanke. Last year, he led the Petty Dodge to a 3rd place finish at Michigan. This year, Dodge hopes for more of the same. And while Dodge may be putting their hopes for a win on the veterans here today, it was a rookie that stole the headlines. 21-year-old Jamie McMurray, in his 16th NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series start, put his truck on the pole today. He was the only truck to top the 177-mile-per-hour mark, and it's his first start for truck owner Mike Ferris. Now, Jamie, it's your first start. You told me that made you a little bit nervous, even at that, and now you put the truck on the pole. So what are your thoughts getting going today?
You know what, we've had a good truck since we unloaded here on Tuesday or Wednesday, and the truck's just been great the whole time. We were a little off in happy hour last night, but we made some changes this morning, and I think we're going to be really good for the race.
Have you gotten any sleep?
No, not since this is my first race with this team, and since they called me, I haven't had any sleep and I haven't eaten. I'm on a good diet right now, so hopefully after this is over with, I can go back to the hotel room tonight and get a good night's sleep and eat a nice dinner.
He's very excited to put his Dodge on the pole. Dodge won the last race. Chevrolet, however, has been in a bit of a slump.
This scene at Evergreen Speedway 7 races ago was the last time a Chevy Silverado visited Victory Lane in the Truck Series. Since then, bad luck has plagued the Bowtie Brigade in all shapes, forms, and sizes. They hope to see the light as the series comes to the 2-mile Michigan Speedway. Brian Reffner knows how to lead and would love to get Chevy back into Victory Lane. And when the Chevrolets unloaded here on Wednesday, Victory Lane seemed out of sight. With the 80-inch NASCAR rule, Chevrolet had to reconfigure their front fenders to try to get some more air to the rear spoiler and try to balance the truck. Now, Brian Reffner is the highest qualified Chevrolet. Brian, you're starting 7th on the grid today, but you're not sure how this truck's going to race.
Well, that's for sure. We're just going to hope for the best and, try to have a comfortable race and keep this Johnson Manville Chevy up front and stay out of trouble.
Well, while the Chevrolets used to be the dominant force in the Truck Series, now it's the Fords.
Ford sits comfortably atop the manufacturer standings, helped greatly by Roush Racing's domination of 5 of the last 6 races. Greg Biffle has a total of 4 victories, leads the points, and hopes to keep a stranglehold on it. Rookie Kurt Busch has scored 2 victories in a row and looks to further impress the brass here at the team's home track. You want to talk about comfortable. Greg Biffle's comfortable atop the points. Over 170 is his lead, but a different Greg Biffle this year from last. Much more focused.
Oh, Marty, is he ever focused? And what's in focus is the big picture, and that is the championship. We saw a very mature performance from Greg Biffle last weekend at Nazareth. He knew he didn't have a truck to win. He let Setzer go for the win. Biffle got 3rd place points, and he's got this championship clearly in focus.
Flip side of the coin is his Killer B teammate, 21-year-old Kurt Busch. He reminds us of the Greg Biffle of last year. He's going.
Well, last year, Biffle had nothing to lose, and he was going for it. He won 9 races, and this year, Kurt Busch is in the same shoes. And boy, he did win those 2 races, and he's just been fantastic. We knew he had the ability. We knew he had the trucks, and he's a man on a mission.
One thing for sure, 32 other competitors have to deal with the 2 Killer Bs if they want a chance to win today. ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. Today is in Brooklyn, Michigan. We're live from Michigan Speedway, round 17 of the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. It's the Michigan 200. Take a look at the points championship as we come into today's race. You can see it is a 178-point margin from 1st to 2nd place Mike Wallace. But look at the top 5. One hiccup early in a race by Greg Biffle, and 4 more drivers are right back in this championship chase. The trucks have fired. In fact, the pace truck is heading out for the first of 3 pace laps. Stay with us. When we come back, we'll set the starting grid and go racing. The 2-mile layout of Michigan Speedway. Let's take a look at our Mopar starting grid. On the point, Jamie McMurray, his best career start ever. First time winning the Bud Pole at over 177 miles an hour. Greg Biffle right alongside. He was fastest in happy hour. Mike Wallace and the number 3 slot, the rookie Kurt Busch, dominating the rookie championship chase, will start fourth. Dennis Setzer still has that broken shoulder blade, can raise his arm no higher than about 90 degrees, but he's in the truck and racing well, coming off the win. Rob Morgan, another strong qualifying performance in row number 3 on the outside. Then in row number 4, it's Brian Reffner, the first Chevrolet, alongside of Andy Houston. Then back in row number 5, Rick Crawford switching over to Roush Motors from Yates Engines, and Scott Riggs qualified in the 10th spot.
And row 6, Carlos Contreras alongside Terry Cook, a Dodge and a Chevrolet. Row 7, Randy Toulsma in his Dodge, and Steve Grissom, very impressive in happy hour. Row 8, there he is, Jack Sprague, and his championship hopes may be slipping away alongside Lance Hooper. Row 9 is Jimmy Hensley. Big motor problems all through the weekend, and Rick Corelli. And row 10, B.A. Wilson in his Chevrolet, and Rich Woodland.
And back a little further in row 11, it's David Starr and Rick Ware. In row number 12, it'll be J.D. Gibbs and Stevie Reeves. Patrick Lawler and Donnie Morlock round out row 13. In row 14, it's Lance Norick and Ryan McGlynn. Then we get to Stan Boyd, and there's Joe Ruttman. Had to take a provisional. He lost an engine. So did Marty Houston. He's back in row 16. Randy McDonald also on the provisional list, as is Wayne Edwards and Phil Bonifield. And that rounds out our 34-truck field here at Michigan Speedway. Let's take a look at the race analysis. 100 laps, exactly 200 miles. The purse over $500,000. The pit window between lap 40 and 45 for fuel. We've only run here once before, and Greg Biffle, of course, set that record then at 121.889 miles an hour. And a race fact here, that Dodge has not won a NASCAR race at Michigan since all the way back in 1975. They want to change that today.
And wow, we have 7 onboard cameras today, and Joe Ruttman will carry one of those starting 30th, so he'll be coming through the field in the Dana Dodge. And much further up is Steve Grissom starting 14th in the Dodge Motorsports Dodge. And then Andy Houston carries an onboard camera starting 8th in the Cat Rental Stores Chevrolet. And Brian Reffner will start 7th in the Johns Manville Chevrolet. And Dennis Setzer starts 5th in the Mopar Performance Parts Dodge. And Mike Wallace starts 3rd in the Team ASE Ford. And Greg Biffle starts 2nd in the Granger Ford outside of the front row.
And to finish a thought, remember the last time Dodge won here in 1975? Guess who the guy was at the wheel? Richard Petty. Let's get a last-minute update from the pits. Who's up first? Dave Burns, take it away.
Well, Marty, Richard Petty's Dodge was 3rd here last year, and it was the highest finishing Dodge. This year, Steve Grissom has had some trouble. On Thursday, they had a miss in the motor, changed everything electrical, and it ran worse. They finally found a little piece of silicone lodged in the carburetor. That made the truck run better, but they could only qualify 14th best. Let's go to Amy East.
Well, I told you earlier that all the Chevrolets reconfigured their front fenders, all except for Marty Houston. Crew Chief Freddie Fryer decided to change the valance height in the front of the truck to get more air onto the rear spoiler, and that is what has made his truck a very good handling truck all weekend.
We're getting ready to go green flag racing. Pace truck with Mike Dolan at the wheel has pulled off. The flag flies, and round 17 of the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series is green. Biffle and Busch hook up. They take 1st and 2nd. Mike Wallace has pushed our pole sitter McMurray back to 4th. Mike Wallace going to try underneath of Kurt Busch as we get ready to come out of lap number 1, turn 4, heading for the stripe for the first time by, and it will be Greg Biffle, your points leader, leading lap number 1.
And Mike Wallace, another driver that was very happy with his truck in happy hour, 3rd quickest behind Biffle and Grissom, and he's very confident. Big wiggle there coming off turn 2 for Mike Wallace.
And it allows Kurt Busch to get back around on the outside, retaking 2nd place.
And it looked like McMurray might have had a small run as well on Mike Wallace.
There is McMurray in the 41. That truck sat on the outside of row number 1 here last year with Randy Renfro at the wheel. So the truck is very familiar with the place. McMurray trying to get the feel of it very quickly in traffic. And look at the lead that Biffle has already stretched. In fact, it is about a second and a half.
Well, I mentioned that Mike Wallace was confident. I don't think anyone is more confident than Greg Biffle right now with his truck. You know, they've done a great job on these super speedways. They've got a good aero program. They've got a good motor program, and these Roush boys are going to be tough to beat.
That was Dennis Setzer taking a look outside, trying to get around Rick Crawford. There is Refner and Sprague, and that is all the way back for 11th, 12th, and 13th position. A little bit further back. Now we move a little bit further forward, I should say. That is Randy Tolsma trying to go high around Terry Cook. Cook looks like he's going to lose the spot on the high side. Rick Crawford in the number 14 Milwaukee Electric Ford also trying to go on the high side. And here comes Setzer with the door open underneath, side by side with Crawford down the backstretch.
Well, Marty, I've got to ask myself a question here. Dennis Setzer has fallen back to 12th after starting 5th. So that is a big question mark for me right now, and I don't know if he just got a bad start or if he's having problems with that truck. You can hear a little hiccup there on the throttle, just kind of resetting the truck in the middle of the corner as he came off 4.
The lead up front, a half a second. We're on board right now with Dennis Setzer in 12th. He's got the pedal mashed, lifts there going into 1. Joe Ruttman, remember, he started on the provisional. He is starting to work his way through this field. In fact, there he is. He has just gotten around Jimmy Hensley, and that puts him into the 17th position, I believe. Yes. Actually moving up to 16th now on the official scoring. Dave, you got more on Joe Ruttman?
The fact that he's running well, Marty, is a good sign. They made huge changes after happy hour. Not only did they have to start in the back, but Joe's truck was tight. That's something we rarely heard this weekend because most of the trucks were loose. Joe was tight, so crew chief Fred Wanke decided to loosen it way up. Joe was comfortable with the change, but he said, I'm going to be hanging on for those first 2 laps until the truck comes back to me. So apparently they've done the right thing in the Dana Dodge.
We're on board the Dana Dodge. You saw momentarily the 23, Phil Bonifield, has made his way to pit lane. The hood is up. He's in trouble.
And you've got to be careful here because it is possible to run the right rear tire off the truck here. So you do have to be careful. A number of these teams definitely a little bit worried about right side and specifically right rear tire wear.
Let's talk about the guys up front. Greg Biffle is in front by 0.8 of a second over his Killer Bee teammate. Mike Wallace is third. Stay with us. Leader Greg Biffle in front of Kurt Busch and Mike Wallace. That's first, second, and third. The gap is about 1.2 seconds. And 16 prior races, one of those 3 has always been in the top 4. That's some pretty strong consistency.
Well, no question that Mike Wallace is having a great year. Of course, we expected Greg Biffle to have a great year, and he is. But Kurt Busch, what a season he's had. 2 wins back-to-back. Of course, at Milwaukee and Loudon. And this boy has a seriously bright future in front of him in NASCAR.
In fact, the word is that the driver of that number 99 Exide Ford could be in line for the seat on the 97. Chad Little will be vacating at Roush Racing. And the final decision has not been made, but boy, it seems like he is definitely the odds-on favorite right now. Moving a little bit further back, there is the pack as we've got quite a few trucks side by side there. That is Terry Cook on the left. On the right is Rick Crawford. And there's Ruttman in the mix as well. He has moved up into 10th position. So Joe Ruttman on the march. Started 30th. You can see the serial scoring. We're on board. That's Scott Briggs in the RC Cola Dodge. And the Menards. Chevrolet, look out, 3 wide. He's underneath the line. Hang on, Joe. There's still 3 abreast. Something's got to give here sometime. Yes, Refner says, I'll back out of it a little bit.
Well, Ruttman had such a good run going there, and he didn't really have any choice. He had to pop down to the low side of Refner, and I'm not sure Refner knew he was there. Refner, of course, had a truck on the outside, so Joe Ruttman now continues to move up.
That should put him up at about the 8th spot. Of course, with them side by side, it's a little hard to tell until they officially cross the straight. There is Crawford underneath Terry Cook. Cook seems to like the high side. Crawford completes the pass, and they come across, and there goes Riggs on the high side now on top of Cook.
And look at Sprague. Sprague goes where Ruttman went on the last lap. Just doesn't get pushed down quite as far onto the apron as Joe Ruttman did. But Sprague now showing some strength in 13th position.
Cook is shown in the 8th position, make Ruttman in the 9th slot. There is Scott Riggs. The 24 truck, the GMAC Financial Services Chevrolet, in a rare position in the points. This is the lowest Jack Sprague has been in the points championship this late in the season. He is 4th right now. This time last year he was 1st. There's a battle for 4th. That's Andy Houston right up underneath the rear spoiler of the 41 of Jamie McMurray.
And the way these guys have been talking, that would not be a comfortable place for Jamie McMurray to have Andy Houston tucked under that rear spoiler, because with the aero changes that NASCAR made to these trucks, they're not quite as stable as they were last year on the super speedway here at Michigan. And a lot of the teams have been struggling to find a balance and a comfort level for their drivers with these trucks and the revised aero pack.
Andy Houston completes the pass, has open track in front of him. Now looking back at Jamie McMurray. You know, McMurray won the U.S. karting championship at the age of 7, won a world championship in karting in 1991. Here on the Craftsman Truck Series, his best finish was at Las Vegas last year, where he finished 11th.
And I'll tell you, Marty, it's a long way from go-karts to Craftsman Truck Series trucks.
Yeah, about 3,300 pounds. Look at the jam further back as Joe Ruttman is continuing his march. He has made his way around Scott Riggs, as well as Terry Cook has been pushed back a little bit further. We show Ruttman officially at the stripe in 8th position now. On board with Brian Refner. Look at this, 3 wide. That's Marty Houston on the low side. Sprague on the high side. Somebody's got to give a little bit here. Oh, they're going to try this. Hold on. Refner says, I'll back out again. So Brian Refner drops another spot, although he's going to try and get it back, trying to follow the draft of Jack Sprague and the GMAC Financial Services Chevy.
And you see Marty Houston there making sure he gets slotted in behind Jack Sprague. So he gets a small benefit there from a drafter. At least he doesn't go backwards and get passed by Brian Refner. Look at this. This is Grissom.
Yeah, and Grissom has backed up as well. In fact, look at this. He's getting passed by Tolsma, also by B.A. Wilson. And Wilson up 2 trucks there. Number 73 has a new sponsor for the rest of the season, Berryman Chem Tool. So that's going to help their program quite a bit. There goes Houston door to door with Jack Sprague. We're on board with Brian Refner. Refner 14th. The battle for 12th and 13th right in front of him right now. Marty Houston's got it. Sprague is coming right back, though. Here comes Refner right along on the toe. The draft is in effect here at Michigan Speedway. 18 degrees in the banking on the turns, and it is a fast layout. Stay with us. Your race leader is Greg Biffle by 2.7 seconds. NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series, we call it extra crunchy, and right now the only guy who's doing the crunching is right there in the Granger Ford. Greg Biffle, he can run it anywhere on the track. He splits J.D. Gibbs and Stevie Ribbs. So Reeves says, wow, leader's really flying.
That Greg Biffle, he's hooked up.
And there is second place Kurt Busch. The Roush Racing stablemates running 1-2 right now, and he has opened up a bit of a gap over Mike Wallace in 3rd.
Yeah, about 3 seconds back to Mike Wallace.
Look at the difference here. Those are lap vehicles in between there, the 2 that are running together. Biffle just doing so well here in the early stage of this race. The Dominators is a good way to put it for Roush Racing. Take a look, and the last 8 races, they've won 6 of them, 13 top 5s. That bottom statistic is the one that's most impressive. That's 45 possible points that they did not collect. between the two of them.
Well, that is a remarkable stat. Absolutely. I mean, that gives you an indication of just how strong and how dominant these guys have been.
Let's get some more on Greg Biffle from Dave Burns.
Well, Marty, how many times have you heard this? He's leading the race. The truck looks good on the track, but it's not perfect. It is pushing a little bit for Greg Biffle. That's why he's taking it low into the turns and just letting it ride up. But there's also another thing. They're confident that when they get other trucks behind them, it won't loosen Greg up too much. Just one problem with that scenario, I'm not sure anyone can get close enough.
Well, Dave, I think for any of the other teams that might be listening to our broadcast, you really just burst their bubble, because the last thing they wanted to hear was that Greg Biffle wasn't totally happy with his truck, the way he's driving away from these guys right now. They probably would have thought that this thing was perfect.
A little bit further back, there is Jack Sprague, and the reports we're getting from the corners is he is very loose coming out of it. He does manage to hold off B.A. Wilson there. Watch him coming through here. And here comes the 43, also up behind B.A. Wilson. Let's go on board, see if we can see what happens. Low. Oh, yeah, look at Sprague. He's got a big wiggle there.
And loose is not what you want to be when you're averaging 170 miles an hour. Amy East.
Well, they haven't been able to fix that loose condition all weekend, and right now the GMAC team, all they want to do is fight for position. They do not feel like they are in contention to win this race, and they know that what they need to do right now to stay in the points battle is simply fight for each position, try their hardest to make that loose condition go away as the race goes on. Right now, though, Jack Sprague has definitely got his hands full.
Jack has more super speedway victories than anyone in the field. He's got 11 of them. Here we go on board with Steve Grissom. Underneath him is B.A. Wilson. That's Sprague right in front of him.
And I'll tell you, I didn't expect Sprague to be super strong, but look at Sprague continues to move that truck around. But I'm a little bit surprised with Grissom, because based on how strong his truck was in happy hour, I would have thought he would have been up further than 15th where he's running right now.
Of course, Steve Grissom's going to take over the 44 Winston Cup ride, and that'll start at Darlington in September. Kyle Petty will move over to the 45 Busch ride, the sprint car, and he'll finish that out this year and then take over that Winston Cup ride next season. And Steve will continue to run the Truck Series races, though. They're in the championship. He is going to stay on board with both series. It's going to be a little tough, but they'll figure it out. On board now with Brian Refner.
You can see there how high Jack Sprague was having to run that truck, and the last thing he wants at this point is for Refner to roll up behind him and take more air off that rear spoiler, and that is one of the problems that the Chevrolet teams are having, is getting the air to the rear spoiler.
Oh, and the Carlin Burners Control Ford of Rick Corelli is in the pit lane. Now, it looks like they're going underneath. We are in the pit window. You could stop after lap 20 and make it on one more stop after that. But from the standpoint of what's happening in the pits with Corelli, well, it's not good news. .74 laps remaining here. We've almost gone 1/4 of the distance. You can see the lap speeds last time around for Grissom and Sprague. They're at 167. The race leader, though, is at 169.
Yeah, more than 2 miles an hour difference between Biffle and those guys that are fighting it out. This is the battle for 7th now, Setzer and Ruttman. And
Setzer has it at the stripe, but Ruttman says that this battle's not over yet. One thing that happened last year here, the Dodges did not team up, and they lost the race. Greg Biffle ended up winning here last year, and the message was sent out loud and clear that as this race goes on, the Dodge teams are going to be working together.
And we now see Dennis Setzer, who had started 5th, and as I said earlier, he had fallen back to, I think, as low as about 12th, and is now back up to 7th. So Dennis Setzer settling in, and now certainly he's got someone to run with there, which is Joe Ruttman.
There's the Mopar Muscle last week at Nazareth. Now, first 1-2 finish by Dodge since Martinsville of April of '99. Got an interesting fact about Joe Ruttman in that 18 truck. He started 30th, right? The farthest a race winner has ever started in the field on a provisional was 30th. Jimmy Hensley was the driver. It was Nashville of '98. Guess who the crew chief was?
Fred Fred Wink.
You got it. And Fred is the crew chief again on the 18 truck, just taking over for Danny Gill, who's been promoted inside the Bobby Hamilton race team. Maybe that magic might be duplicated. That'd be astounding, wouldn't it? Amy, you've got more?
Well, Jeremy, a while ago you asked about Dennis Setzer's start. He went from 5th all the way back to 12th. When talked to Howard Comstock, I said, bad start or problem? He said, actually, it was a bad start. We just got caught on the bottom and lost our momentum. He said, the truck's okay, just a tick loose. They're going to fight their way back to the front. Now, the person fighting to the front this entire time has been Joe Ruttman. And when talking to crew chief Fred Wanke, he said all those changes in happy hour have definitely paid off.
And I'll tell you, I never went down through the garage area and saw that truck fully assembled. I mean, it's been apart all weekend.
Well, it's running on rails right now. Joe Ruttman from 30th all the way up to 8th. But does anybody have anything for the man at the point, Greg Biffle? He's got a 3.8-second lead. Mike Wallace, last time around, running in the 168-mile-an-hour range. Problem is, Biffle's running at 169 and 170. That's a battle for 6th right now. Crawford has it. Setzer wants it.
And Setzer has definitely settled in nicely here. There's a good look at that spoiler. That is the 8-inch spoiler laid back at a maximum of 65 degrees. So NASCAR continues to refine the rules here for the Truck Series to run on these super speedways and to make a nice competitive show and a good package, but also keep the truck safe and under these drivers.
Dennis Setzer last year here started 16th, finished 8th. He also ran a Busch Grand National race here back in '94. He finished 6th in that race, and he likes this track. Right now, he's got his hands full, though, trying to deal with the Milwaukee Electric Tools Ford, Rick Crawford.
And believe it or not, that truck of Setzer's is a short track truck. These guys have been here since Wednesday, and they unloaded with a super speedway truck, and they didn't like it, so they pulled out the short track truck, and that's the truck that they actually won with at Nazareth last week.
And this year, you can see only one driver has won outside the top 5 starting positions, and that was Dennis Setzer. And he did it the last time out at Nazareth, and there he is. Rick Crawford, of course, making that big motor change, dumping the Yates engines in favor of Roush Racing Motors. Dave, you got more?
Well, I guess that was kind of a birthday present for Rick. He celebrates a birthday this coming Thursday, but it wasn't for his crew, because when you change a motor, you don't just drop a Roush in there. You've got to put the Roush oil tank in there. They had to change that, and all the plumbing that goes along between the oiling system and the motor. And also, one more thing. They make so many RPM in the Roush motors that it totally changed their gearing thoughts. Mike Cheek and the crew had to rethink all the gearing that they do on the 14 truck.
Well, if he does real well, it'll be his 42nd birthday, and you can sing to him in Victory Lane, Dave. He'll take the check. All right, let's take a look at our race leader right now. The Granger Ford of Greg Biffle is just flying. He's got a 5.5-second lead over 2nd place, and that's his Killer Bee teammate of Kurt Busch. And he's led every single lap so far, so he's already picked up 5 bonus points for leading a lap, and if he keeps this up. And now we get inside the pit window, and Kurt Busch is coming in here on lap 37. Now, we thought they could try and stretch it to lap 40, but we've got some green flag pit stops, so obviously fuel is of concern. Dave?
Marty, this morning, crew chief Matt Chambers told me they were going to fudge a little bit on their first pit stop, come in early to make sure they had their calculations right. They got burned earlier this year at St. Louis. They will change 4 tires for Kurt. He's asked for no changes on the X-side Ford, so Kurt is going to take the 4 tires and then get back out there. Little trouble getting the truck up. The left rear tire was jammed underneath. Now it's down, and a little trouble getting on up here with a 20.7-second stop.
You're good all the way.
Remember, it's a 2-mile track around here at Michigan Speedway. It'll take him a little time to get back up to speed. Mike Wallace also made a pit stop, and believe he took 4 tires as well. Yes, he did. So Wallace is back out into the battle as well. Greg Biffle is still your race leader. We're on board with Wallace.
And you can hear when Kurt Busch left, you can hear that first gear. Very tall gearing, of course, because they've got to gear these things for over 180 miles an hour. So very tall gearing, and that means it's much tougher to spin the tires and much easier to stall the truck leaving the pit lane. And here comes Greg Biffle.
So on our 38th lap of 100, here comes the Granger Ford and your race leader.
Get your tires straight. Get your foot on the brake.
Slow down, nice and clean. Dave, he's coming your way.
And one of the things the Granger team was hoping for were green flag pit stops so they could show off all the practice they've been doing. They've been getting under 17 seconds in practice, so Biffle's hoping he can do the same now. Right side tires are on. They will go to left. No adjustments on the truck. Remember, he was a little bit tight, but they said they weren't going to make any adjustments, that Greg was going to drive it as it was. Amy East.
Dennis Setzer brings his Mopar Dodge down pit lane. He's going to get right side tires that only have 2 laps on them. So these are basically fresh right side tires for Dennis Setzer as they get a little bit of rubber off the front. Oh, great pit stop. Oh, also found solid, but a great stop for the Mopar Dodge team.
So a little strategy there. Under green flag, you can take as many as you want, but they decide to take 2. Joe Ruttman, I think that may have been his tire that got loose, and there may be an infraction there. We'll find out. Andy Houston inherited the race lead, but now he is surrendering it. He's in the pits, Dave.
And they're going to go 4-4 as well. This crew has been with Andy for a second year now. They bring some guys in for the weekend. Most of the guys are here for the entire race weekend. Jack Van Houston Caldwell is one of those guys that just comes in on race day, and he will come around the left side and finish the stop for Andy Houston. Amy?
Rick Crawford gets fresh right side tires for his new Roush Racing engine plant as he gets out. That's great, but now Rob Morgan is also going to get right side tires. Now Rob Morgan with crew chief Bill Engel back this weekend after an absence last weekend has had a great performance on the speedway so far, but he has a tire loose on pit lane. Tire loose for the 46. The crew member has to go back and roll that past halfway of the pit box before Rob leaves. Hopefully no penalty.
Cost him some valuable time. You see Jack Sprague also in pit lane. Steve Grissom has finished his service, back out, waiting to see how this all cycles through. It looks like Marty Houston's going to be your race leader, as he has still stayed out. We're working lap number 41 right now. Here comes Brian Reffner. He had stayed out a little bit longer, and Reffner making his way down. Dave?
Brian Reffner comes in now. I just talked with Wes Buck, his crew chief, a minute ago. He was a bit tight, which again is a problem that not many guys experience during practice. They're going to make a chassis adjustment to try to cure that, as well as go for 4 tires on Reffner. Remember, he nearly won a race earlier this year with the pole at Kentucky, and they thought a big track would again be a good sign for them. He's done and stalls the truck now, and Reffner now gets it off pit lane.
And he had to get around the Rich Woodland truck in pit lane. Joe Ruttman came in as well. He had the stop and go penalty, so Ruttman did stop and go. And now here's the race leader of Marty Houston, and he has changed his tires and fuel and is making his way back out on the racetrack. So the loose tire did hurt Joe Ruttman, as he has been forced to make that stop and go. Right now, it looks as though Greg Biffle has cycled his way right back into the race lead, and by 6.5 seconds over Kurt Busch. So he actually picked up a full second during the round of pit stops. While all this is going on with Greg Biffle well out in front, this is the incident with Reffner having a little bit of a problem. The crew member almost getting hung up. Stay with us.
During the break that we don't often see in the Truck Series, and that is Greg Biffle put a lap on Jack Sprague.
Jack Sprague is right now running in the 15th position. There are 14 trucks on the lead lap.
And Rob Morgan has also gotten around Jack Sprague.
Let's get an update on Rob Morgan from Amy East.
Well, we saw that tire roll out of pit lane on Rob Morgan's stop. He did indeed take off out of his box before that tire made it back halfway into his pit box. So NASCAR penalized him. He had to come back down pit lane. Bill Engel, his crew chief, decided to take on fresh left side tires and then send him back out. So keep in mind, although Rob Morgan is further back in the pack now, he's got about the freshest set of tires on his truck right now.
So Morgan officially 24th at this point, shown a lap down and making his way to go. As take a look at the points, Biffle would stretch it to 198, and Jack Sprague would be 268 markers back. Not good. Wayne Edwards is that truck that was slowing on the backstretch back there. No caution out yet. It looks like he will make it around. Sprague has got to be so disappointed right now. There was a stretch there early in the season where it looked like the championship was definitely going to go through the defending champion, but right now it's leaving him behind.
And you know, it's interesting because a lot of the Chevrolet guys have not been very happy with their aero package, and it's pretty much showing up here, with the exception of Andy Houston, who's running.
Inside, you're clear.
Max Jones talking to Greg Biffle. With the exception of Andy Houston, who is running fourth. So the Chevrolets are not totally ineffective. That much is clear based on the performance of Andy Houston.
There is Kurt Busch.
50 to go, 50.
We're at the halfway mark. Busch has 7 top 10s, his 2 victories in 10 super speedway races this year. Looking for Mike Wallace right now, who is running in 3rd, and he is a little bit further back. In fact, he is 13.8 seconds behind the race leader. There he just went blasting through the screen. There is 4th place Andy Houston in the Cat Rental Store Chevrolet. And you were talking about it, and he said, hey, everybody says that we did so well at Texas. He says, remember what happened to the Chevys at Texas? I crashed when somebody came up and took the air off of my spoiler in practice. Marty Houston, his brother, got turned around. Sprague crashed in that race. He says the super speedway package on the Chevrolets definitely needs some work, and the guys have been struggling, and it's showing it today.
Right now, Andy Houston, as you said, Marty, running in 4th place, about 15 seconds back from the lead. So he's not having a great race, but certainly he's keeping himself in contention here.
On board with Andy Houston. Let's just ride along. There is Mike Wallace in 3rd place right now. And Mike comes into this race 2nd in the points. This is their Daytona Speedway truck that they've reworked the body. Of course, he won the opening race at Daytona International Speedway. Next week, he's going to run St. Louis. He's going to run the Busch race in the Jimmy Means car. Amy, you got more on Mike?
Keeping in mind that Mike Wallace took on 4 tires when he came down on that green flag stop. A lot of other teams did take 2. Asked Tim Cahuth if he would have to stop again for fuel, and when he would it just be a fuel-only stop and try to keep that track position with the fresh rubber. He said after looking at the tire wear on the right sides of the truck, especially the right rear, they will indeed have to stop again for right side tires and fuel. So learning what they learned on that pit stop there is going to determine what they do at the tail end of this race.
And you saw Mike Wallace there down in the middle of 1 and 2 with a big lift on the throttle, all the flame coming out of the pipe, and a big wiggle as well. So quite possible Mike Wallace not totally happy with that truck right now.
As we're watching Mike Wallace, I'll bring you up to date. We now only have 13 trucks on the lead lap. Steve Grissom has just been put a lap down. It's amazing. Some of the trucks we expect. There's Andy Houston. He's closing on Mike Wallace there. There's 2 lap vehicles. Now we're going to move a little bit further back, catch up with 5th place. That's Rick Crawford. There he is, the red truck, the Milwaukee Electric Tools for. And that is Joe Ruttman. And Ruttman lost his lap. He is currently running 19th because of the fact that he had that stop-and-go penalty. Tough break for Ruttman because he was on his way. Let's take a look at our Dodge race recap because we are past the halfway mark. Greg Biffle is your leader. He's led all but 2 laps, and we have our first caution of the day. Last year we had 6. We were hoping to go caution-free, but the caution flag has come out, and we do not have a report yet from NASCAR. We'll get to the race recap here in a second and try and figure out what the caution is for. We're looking around the track. I don't see anybody in some serious trouble, but that is going to wipe out that 4.5-second lead that Greg Biffle had on his Killer Bee teammate, Kurt Busch. Now we've completed 55 of 100 laps here. It's our first caution. Stay with us. When we come back, we'll see. There's the reason. We've got that debris on the track. Back after this.
Truck of Mike Wallace just came down and took on right side tires and a can of fuel. Dave Burns.
And in the Roush pits, the 99 of Kurt Busch and the 50 of Greg Biffle, they both took on right side tires and put in a can of fuel plus. They had to wait as the second can of fuel was inserted, and they put in what they could to top off the 50 and the 99.
Well, and the reason for that is very simple. We are within that window. If you can stretch to get 40, say we're 43 laps to go, we're going to have at least one more of a caution. So if you can get 42 laps on a tank of fuel, you can do this now from that standpoint.
It is going to be, you could, it's going to be very much on the edge, and you probably wouldn't be able to do it without another yellow, but you never know. Now, interesting note was just looking out the window, I saw Dennis Setzer and Randy Tolsma take left side tires and not right side tires.
On board with Mike Wallace, let's get an update from Amy East.
Well, although he won the race off of pit lane, they did indeed only take 1 can of fuel in the 2 truck. Asked Tim Cahoot, can you go the rest of the way? He lifted up the can, saw that they got all of it out, and said, we're okay to go.
This is going to be very, very interesting. Of course, it will depend on how many laps of caution that we get here as they have finished cleaning up the debris that was actually at the pit exit right into the entrance of turn number 1. Our first caution, we had 6 of them last year for 23 laps. So this race is flying by right now. And you can see the grandstands, the main grandstand looking very good. A lot of fans coming out today for today's race. Let's go down to Dave Burns.
Just before this pit stop, Marty, we checked with the 60 crew, and they said that the truck was perfect. So when Andy Houston came in, they put on 2 right side tires, made no adjustments, and filled it full of fuel.
And Andy Houston right now, one of 3 guys who have led a lap in this race, but Greg Biffle's led the most of them. Stay with us. Back after this. Marty Reed along with Jeremy Dale, Dave Burns and Amy East down in pit lane. The lights are out on the pace truck. Our first caution here, we're up to lap 59. In fact, we're going to be completing lap 60 this time by. So that puts us in the window. Let's get an update quickly on the number 50. Dave?
Marty, Randy Goss radioed to Greg Biffle. He said, don't scrub the tires. Don't move the truck back and forth until a half a lap until we're ready to go green. Why? I want you to keep all the fuel in the truck you can. Don't splash any of it out. They don't think they can make it all the way, but they want to give themselves every opportunity to do so.
Well, we're going to have 40 laps to go as we come out of turn number 4. Mike Dolan in the pace truck pulls it down into pit lane. Roy Selby, the official flagman, in the starter's tower, has flag in hand, and we are just about ready to go back to green flag racing. And a lot of good guys 1 lap down trying to get their lap back on the bottom of the track.
You're clear. The 2's coming outside. You're clear. You're clear.
Mike Wallace with him.
He's looking inside.
On board with Mike Wallace.
He's not looking inside. He is inside. He's going for this race lead.
Max Jones was talking to Greg Biffle, and he's probably telling Biffle, you're in second place, buddy.
And I saw Busch. I saw Kurt Busch, I thought, sneaking a look in there. Look at Wallace's truck. Woof. Sliding all over the racetrack.
It was loose, and there is Busch in third. The 4th vehicle in line is Rob Morgan, but he is a lap down. In fact, he's 2 laps down in 23rd. Now Wallace, remember, he's 178 points behind in the points chase. He needs the 50 truck to back up a lot more than second place. And here comes Biffle looking back underneath.
Outside, still outside, still outside, still outside, still outside.
Kurt Busch, the Killer Bees drafting. They're still side by side through 3 and 4. Whoa, and he slides right up and just clears it. On board with the Granger Ford, looking back at second place. Looks like Biffle's trying to break up the draft.
Well, if he's not careful, he's going to do some blocking there. You don't want to do any blocking. And the thing is that when another driver is that close, you're not going to break the draft by weaving back and forth like that. And no question, Mike Wallace had a run. He just didn't know where Greg Biffle was going to go and never had the confidence to put his truck there to try and make a pass.
Well, look at him. He is all over the track trying to break up the draft. In the meantime, there goes the 2 truck to the bottom of the track. The Team ASE Ford of Mike Wallace looking for his 3rd victory of this season. Right now he is in second spot, and he has to fall back in line. Biffle just seems to be quicker through the corners.
Well, don't forget, on the first stop, look at this run that Wallace has. On the first stop, Biffle was able...
Inside. You're clear. Clear low.
Biffle was able to take 4 tires. This time he was only able to take right side tires. So it makes you ask yourself, is the balance of the truck good now that he's just got fresh right side tires? It would appear that Mike Wallace has just as good a truck right now as Greg Biffle.
Wallace definitely closes on the straightaways, but then it's been, for the most part, in the corners where Biffle's been able to pull away. But here comes to the stripe. Who's going to have the lead this time by? They're side by side, and it is Mike Wallace. So that's our 4th different leader and our 5th lead change. And the fastest, 173.3 miles an hour. And you can see only 13 trucks on the lead lap. Now here come the Killer Bees. They got him in a sandwich. Biffle's going to get the lead back. Busch is trying to follow. Here we go. On board with Wallace.
And look at Kurt Busch sneaks in there. Watch out for Carlos Contreras there. And it looks like Mike Wallace lost a little bit of momentum there fighting with Kurt Busch.
2 against 1. And look at Andy Houston. This time we'll go to the line and see who the quickest truck is.
I wouldn't be surprised if it's Andy Houston. No, look at, yeah, it is Andy Houston.
There he is in 4th position. Now, look at B.A. Wilson down at 10th. This is starting to remind me a little bit of the Daytona when we had these guys swapping the lead back and forth. We're getting to serious time here, too. We've completed 65 laps of 100. Down the back stretch, Biffle and Busch. We talked about at the beginning of the show. The other 32 trucks were going to have to deal with these guys if they were going to win today. So far, no one succeeded. On board.
And they may have to deal with each other because Greg Biffle's very aware of how much talent Kurt Busch has. And the Roush team is pretty much an open book situation.
Inside, you're clear.
In other words, Kurt Busch has access to all of the notes from Greg Biffle and gets an awful lot of help. And so Kurt Busch has a big advantage, and that is that as a driver has very little experience in these trucks, he's got all the very good information available to him, and that's certainly one of the reasons he's been so competitive this year and won those 2 races.
We were talking to Greg earlier in the week, and he said, you know what? Whoa, Busch got awfully close to the wall there. He said, you know, he did the development work on the truck. Last year, they put it all together, got the team and everything working together. And then when Kurt came on, that was the first driver and the only driver that he's ever worked with that says he drives the same style as I do. I could jump in that 99 truck, he could jump in mine, and I think we'd both be in the same positions. So it really has meant an awful lot to have Greg Biffle. And wait a minute, we've got the caution flag out. So it's our 2nd caution. So just when we thought we were going to be flying again, oh no, and B.A. Wilson, who had moved up into the top 10, he was running as high as 7th position. And it looks like he has got problems with the motor. You can see the excess fuel burning off. And the number 73, Berryman Chem Tool Chevrolet, has brought out our 2nd caution of the day. Greg Biffle, still your race leader at the Michigan 200. Have our race leader. In fact, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd have pitted. Andy Houston stayed out to take the race lead. It looks like they're going to go for lefts on our race leader. Dave Burns.
And Greg Biffle is in. Randy Goss told him we can stay out and gamble, or we can come in and do what we need to do to win the championship. They're going to put on left sides and fuel. Also left sides on Kurt Busch in the 99.
You're clear. Left sides and fuel for the number 2 truck of Mike Wallace. The Roush trucks kind of set the pace. They were told if the 50 and the 99 come down, the 2 was going to come down. That's exactly what they did.
Danny Riggs working the stop and go paddle there, held up the race leader a bit till the pack got by.
And the guy that really suffered the most there was Kurt Busch. Look at that. Wallace is around him, and so is Dennis Setzer. Now, Dennis Setzer, who took left side tires the last time, took right side tires this time. So Dennis Setzer with the freshest right side tires right now.
Howard Comstock, the crew chief for Dennis Setzer, and that may be the key move in strategy if that pays off, because he has the freshest rights, as you point out. There is our race leader, Andy Houston. Spotter telling Andy what's behind him and what they took. Now, Andy, of course, did not stop this time. He did stop back on lap 57. And that note for Mike Addington there. He is the owner of Andy Houston's truck. The Get Well Mike. Well, Mike's going under some surgery. He had a motorcycle crash last year. They have to take a plate out today. And Mike, get well soon. Want you back at the racetrack. The owner of the Cat Rental Chevrolet on the mend. A victory would make him feel pretty good, I would think.
And I think these guys right now feeling like this is their best shot at victory, which is to stay out, gain the track position, and take a bit of a gamble on fuel, although with this yellow, that will definitely help them on the fuel situation.
Dave, you've caught up with the crew chief of the 60 Cat Rental Chevrolet, Rick Wren.
Rick makes the calls, Marty, so we're going to ask him, why did you guys stay out at this point, Rick?
Well, so far in the race, we've been the only Chevrolet in the top 5 all day. 3 Fords in front of us and a Ford behind us. Right now, Andy says the truck's the best it's been all day. I'm in a fuel window. I need to lead some laps. Maybe they can get back in the field, maybe have a bend in a fender or something. It's the only shot I got at winning the race. We're not going to overhaul 3 Fords up there, so they got to pass us now.
How comfortable has Andy been in the draft, Rick? Most trucks have been loose this weekend and uncomfortable.
Well, we had a pretty tough time when we got here, but the team's really worked really hard, and we got a pretty good truck out there in the draft right now. Probably the best Chevrolet out there, but the Fords are pretty tough right now.
All right, but the Cat Rental team has made their move, guys.
Well, only 3 Chevys are on the lead lap, and so you can understand why Rick Wren is saying what he needs to do here is stay out front and give yourself a chance. Andy Houston in front of brother Marty. Can they stay there? We'll find out when we come back. 30 laps to go. We're under, and it's our second caution. We've had 7 laps under caution today, 6 for 23 last year. Get an idea of the onboard situation as we're getting ready to go back to green flag racing. Marty Houston behind brother Andy as they take the flag here, starting lap number 73. And Marty Houston, what a great run going. Remember, he started 31st. He's now in second, but here comes Greg Biffle. Biffle on the high side is taking care of Marty Houston. Now he's setting his sights on Andy. Remember, Andy's tires were last changed on lap 57. Biffle got 2 fresh ones this last stop, albeit on the left side. Biffle on the high side going for the race lead. It'll be our 9th lead change if he can complete it.
Inside, still inside.
And he does. And here comes Mike Wallace.
The two's coming with you inside. Two's inside. Two's inside. You're clear low. Clear low.
Max Jones talking to his driver, Greg Biffle. There's Kurt Busch.
And look at Kurt Busch back in the thick of it. Dennis Setzer had gotten around Kurt Busch on that stop. And look at Mike Wallace. What a good run down the back straightaway into turn 3.
Still there. Inside.
But again, through the corners, Biffle looks faster than the 2 Team ASE Ford of Mike Wallace. On the straightaway, he can reel him in. And there is Kurt Busch lurking in 3rd, so it's 3 Fords, then 2 Chevrolets. Inside now, Mike Wallace again looking for the lead, but he cannot complete the pass. Down the back straightaway. Do not try this on the freeway at home, folks. Changing lanes like that is not good. Biffle, though, doing the best he can to try and break up the draft. But the last time he tried it, that's when he did lose the lead before the last caution came out. The last time Mike Wallace got around him, but not this time. He's holding on to it.
Look at
Here
this
comes
route.
Wallace. We'll go on board.
Inside.
No doubt about it this time.
Inside. Inside.
And now Kurt Busch has to decide, hey, who am I going to go with?
Inside.
And now with 3 wide.
Inside.
Busch is saying, well, fellas, you're going to give me the low line. I'm going to take it 3 wide, heading for turn 3. This is going to get interesting. 18-degree banking.
Max Jones with the inside and outside there.
Inside. Inside.
Wallace has been passed again, put back into 3rd spot. Here comes Houston underneath. Mike Wallace.
You're clear.
Whoa, they touched.
And hey guys, Dennis Setzer is sneaking up into this group. Remember, Dennis Setzer with the best right side tires. He was the only guy able to take right side tires on that last stop. And he has not been in the thick of this race, but he's going to sneak up into this lead group. And now it looks like the Roush boys have broken away just a little bit. And Mike Wallace now having to contend with Andy Houston.
Marty Houston right behind Andy, and then you've got Setzer. Those are all for positions. That's the top 6 trucks. Meanwhile, the Killer Bees back in a familiar spot, running 1-2. Biffle, this time by, will have led 69 laps, so obviously he's going to pick up 10 bonus points today for leading the most laps. And look at how close he got to the wall, and now Busch takes a look underneath to the low side, but again, through the corners, Biffle is the quickest truck out there. He has just got it on a rail, and he can run it just about anywhere he wants to on the racetrack.
And Mike Wallace now sneaking back up on these guys. Remember how I said in the open how mature Greg Biffle was last weekend at Nazareth? The one thing he did tell us, he said, listen, if I've got a third-place truck, I'll take a third-place finish. But if I have a truck I think I can win with, then I'm going to go for it, and I'm going to try and win the race. Of course I'm trying to win this championship, but I do want to win races.
Dave, give us some more on Greg Biffle.
Well, Marty, that running through the corners, like you said, he still seems to be the fastest truck there. That's one reason why Randy Goss just told me they don't want to tinker with it much. He does acknowledge, however, that everyone else has had a chance to gain some speed while they worked on their trucks today and made adjustment. Kudos to the other team, but Goss says we're running as well as we have run, and we really don't want to mess with it.
Well, he started 11th last year, drove it to victory, led 34 laps in the process. He's led twice that many already today. He'll complete lap number 71 in the lead if he holds on to this one. But here comes Kurt Busch trying to get him underneath. Does Busch do it? Yes. So officially at the stripe, another lead change. That'll be number 11 on the day.
Well, you saw Kurt Busch dive down to the left, and he definitely wanted to get to the line first and lead a lap. And he was able to do that, so he will pick up 5 bonus points for doing that. But these guys running side by side like this. And wow, Kurt Busch taking the long way down the back straightaway, and that's really going to help Mike Wallace more than anyone else.
Busch, though, manages through the corner to stay on that low line, on board with Wallace. You realize if Biffle and Busch finish first and second again, it would be the 3rd time this year they've done it.
Look at this run. Mike Wallace with another big run. And boy, Greg Biffle made the first 50 laps of this race pretty boring. And as Dave said, the other guys have been able to catch up on the stops, adjust the trucks, and what a race we've got here at Michigan.
We'll be back as we head towards the finish. 20 laps to go here at the Michigan 200. Can Biffle win it, or will it be Busch, or will it be someone else? The number 7 of David Starr, and John Conley's machine has lost a motor. Qualified 21st, but he has brought out our 3rd caution of the day, and he's already taken it straight to the garage area. Greg Biffle is our race leader with 15 laps now remaining. Kurt Busch is in 2nd, Mike Wallace is 3rd, and Andy Houston and Rick Crawford round out our top 5. If Biffle can pull this off, it would be victory number 5 in the season. He's already won at Pikes Peak, at Texas, Kentucky, and on the road course at Watkins Glen. He has 13 career markers, 12 top 10s, 12 of those times, all of them in the top 5. He ran off a string of 10 straight top 10 finishes. It's just been a phenomenal year, and we talked about his focus on the big picture.
Well, last year was a phenomenal year, and it's quite amazing because he didn't come out of the box quite as strong as everyone thought he would this year, and they've really pulled it together, and they're doing a phenomenal job, and he's just driving this championship right now.
Stay with us. We're going to take another commercial break. The laps are winding down here at the Michigan 200. At the Michigan 200, you are on board with Steve Grissom. Let's take a look at our Dodge race recap. Our current leader is Greg Biffle. He has led 76 of the 85 laps. We had 11 lead changes among a total of 5 drivers. We've had 3 cautions. In fact, we're in the 3rd one right now, and so far we've done 9 laps under caution. Our average speed much faster than the record by 22 miles an hour. There is the breakdown on the 5 guys who have led at least 1 lap here, and Biffle, of course, is going to take the 5 extra bonus points for leading the most laps. 1 truck off the track, that is David Starr. And B.A. Wilson, Wayne Edwards, and Phil Bonifield are the 3 trucks that are officially out of the race. Well, let's set it for you. It is Greg Biffle, Kurt Busch, and then Mike Wallace running 1, 2, 3. Then it's the Chevy of Andy Houston and Rick Crawford rounding out the top 5. There is Mike Wallace. Let's get an update on that number 2 truck from Amy East.
Well, I was really curious as to how this race would play out with the 3 Fords up front, and then again Andy Houston there in the 4th position. So I asked Tim Cahoot, does Mike have anything for those 2 Roush Racing Fords? He said, Amy, let me tell you, this is our problem right now. The 50, the 99, and the 60 are not Mike's friends, and we feel like we're out there all by ourselves. Dave Burns?
Credit goes to Jamie McMurray today, starting on the pole. They have continued to run well and maintain the 8th position. Jamie has the truck a little bit tight, and that's the way he likes it, just a tick tight to be drivable. And Crew Chief Todd Myers just told me now he's radioed in. He says all I need to do is cinch up the belts, hang on, and let's go.
Well, it would be a career best for him. He finished 11th back in Las Vegas in '99, and that was the best he had ever done prior to that. Last time out of Milwaukee, he had a rough trip, but it was not in that truck. He finished 31st. Let's talk a little bit of dominance by Roush Racing. Here are the last 6 races. Take a look at this. Of 1,110 points that are possible, they have collected 1,090 of them. 98%.
That is a great stat.
It tells you a lot. I mean, it tells you exactly just how strong this team really is. And as we get ready to go back to green flag racing, of course, the big hubbub or the word of possibly seeing Kurt Busch go to Winston Cup next year, we asked Greg Biffle, hey, do you feel like you're being passed over? He says, no. He says, here's my big picture. I know I'm going to be racing 2 years of Busch Series next year, and then 2 years after that, I'm going to be in Winston Cup myself. I'm 30. He's 21. If he goes up and stubs his toe, he's got time to recover. If I go up and stub my toe, I'm done. So we talked about it, his big picture and his focus. Dave, you got more?
Well, now take those mature thoughts from Greg Biffle and get this. Randy Goss, his crew chief, says that they are going to be racing, actually Kurt Busch and Greg Biffle are racing head-to-head. They're not really going to be working together because Biffle's goal is to get out ahead of everybody. The truck works much better in clean air than it does in a pack. So Randy says they're not really planning on working with the 99 whatsoever. So they're out in front as opposed to someone like Mike Wallace, who Amy reported earlier doesn't have any friends to work with to get to the front.
Well, Dave, I guess to tie that all together, you know, you get down inside about 5 laps, and no one's going to have any friends up there at the front, so it's going to be every man for himself.
More racing at Michigan Speedway tomorrow. In fact, we're going to take off the fenders. We're going to strap on the turbos, and that's just Paul Page's rental car. Take a look at Kart FedEx Championship qualifying. That's tonight at just a half past midnight. Then Kart Today tomorrow on ESPN2 at 11 a.m. And then the Michigan 500 tomorrow 1:30 Eastern Time on ABC Sports. For more, log on to ESPN.com, part of Go Network, go.com. Money time.
Green, green, green.
You heard it. We're back to it. Greg Biffle's got the lead. We've got 11 laps to go.
That's Joe Rudman up there in front trying to get his lap back, 1 lap down.
Rutman had a strong truck, but a penalty when a tire got loose put him a lap down, and he is not going to be able to get it back as now 4th place Andy Houston is blown by him, and he's got his hands full with Rob Morgan. Look out, Morgan, getting sideways. Hang on to it, Rob. Can he keep it off the racetrack? Look out into the grass. Who is that flying through the grass there? Is that Randy McDonald? Looks like he's going to make it. No, it's Boyd as the 89 has come through there. Wow, that was close. Stan Boyd almost got into the spinning Axiom Ford of Rob Morgan as he has flattened left front tire after all the skidding, but Rob did a magnificent job to keep him going back up the racetrack.
Well, if he'd gone back up the racetrack, it could have been a real disaster. And so he'll probably not end up going a lap down if he can get it to pit lane, get that left front changed out.
Stan Boyd is coming to pit lane, and let's take another look. Watch the 46.
And he's going around the outside of Rutman, but then he ducks to the inside. And it looks like there might have been just a little bit of a touch there. And of course, they're just coming off the caution on not fully hot tires. And he gets a little wiggle there, elects to just lock it up. And look at Boyd, 170 miles an hour in the grass. And amazing that he kept that truck straight.
There's a better look at it. Now see if they touch here.
You know, I'm not sure they ever touched. I think that Rob just trying to avoid the touch kind of jerked the truck down to the inside, and that's what got it destabilized, and of course that's what leads to the spinning truck.
So Stan Boyd manages to miss him, although he does manage to plow up the yard quite a bit. And the 46 has made it back to pit lane. Stay with us when we come back to Green Flag Racing. Well, in effect, if you're just joining us, that's how many laps we have to go here at the Michigan 200. Marty Reed along with Jeremy Dale, Amy East, and Dave Burns. And you heard it, we're back to Green Flag Racing. And with lap 92 now underway, the 10-lap rule means that the lead trucks move to the front, all lap vehicles to the rear.
And did you see Greg Biffle lane streaks of rubber there? That was literally a drag race with Greg Biffle spinning the tires and leaving rubber on the racetrack on that restart.
Look at the top three. We go on board with Mike Wallace down the back straightaway.
I think this last 10 laps, this last 9, is going to be an all-out war between these 3 Ford drivers.
They have been the ones up front all day long. Busch has got his hands full right now with Mike Wallace, but here he comes. He's got a run on Biffle. Boy, like he's shot out of a cannon, but can he hold on to it?
Good head of steam. Wallace is running a high groove this time. You still got daylight. You still got daylight.
That's Kurt Busch's spotter talking to him, letting him know what's going on. Biffle is still the quickest through the corner. Look at the serpentine making its way down the backstretch, but right now it's a 3-truck race. Does anybody have anything for Greg Biffle in the corners? On the straightaways, they can reel him in, but look at this on the turns. He just opens it up, looking for victory number 5 of the year and to stretch his points lead. Last time by, you can see 164 and change. Going on board with Mike Wallace, Biffle and Busch side by side.
Oh, big lift there towards the exit of the corner for Mike Wallace. That's going to hurt him coming out of 2 a little bit, but he's got a good tone. With these guys running side by side, they'll punch a huge hole in the air.
Inside.
That'll give Mike Wallace a big, big toe with those guys running side by side.
Now we're on board with Biffle. Busch right up underneath him. Oh, look out, guys.
He's still there.
No kidding.
Still inside. Outside, outside, outside.
Here we go. You heard the spotter, Max Jones, tell him inside, then outside, and all of a sudden, Greg Biffle goes from 1st to 3rd, 6 laps remaining. Was Wallace holding something back? Now it's Wallace and Kurt Busch side by side, and Biffle is going. He's going underneath, trying to do it again. You sure he's thinking about that points championship right now?
Well, I'll tell you what, he knows he's got a good truck, and he's racing these guys because he knows he's got a truck he can win with. But I'll tell you, Mike Wallace is not going to make it easy for Greg Biffle to win this race.
Still outside.
Last year's finish was 15 100ths of a second. 8th all time and closest. We could be on our way to another one today. Look out.
And I'll tell you, this is not where Greg Biffle's been running. Greg Biffle's been the guy up on the outside with the other guys trying to run down low. And so this is new territory for Greg Biffle.
Into the corner, back on board with Biffle. And Wallace has to back out of it. This time by, there'll be 4 laps to go.
4 to go, 4.
Randy Goss talking to his driver. Mike Wallace. Andy Houston is drawn back into this mix. The lone Chevrolet amongst 3 Fords. And where have the Dodges gone? They have not been a factor in the second half of this race.
Well, Rick Crawford is in 5th, and Dennis Dennis Setzer is in 6th. Well, they're essentially side by side. So right now they're battling for 5th. So Dennis Setzer not that far out of this race.
So Setzer, the lone presence for Dodge in the top 7 positions. But it doesn't look like he's going to be a factor for the win, because we're going to have 3 laps to go this time by. And look at Biffle starting to stretch it out.
3 to go, 3.
Look at the 1 and the 14. They're banging on each other at over 165 miles an hour. That's a battle for 5th. Crawford has it. And his door's caved in just enough. Wait, a nice bit of contact between those two. Look at the back straightaway now. Biffle trying to break up the draft. Wallace isn't sucking in on it. He's just holding his line. Busch is side by side with him. Houston's trying to draw closer. And Busch is back into 2nd spot. This time by, it'll be 2 laps remaining for Greg Biffle. And what's the margin now as he crosses the stripe? Almost 1 full second. I think that was Greg Biffle.
Yeah, I think that was Greg Biffle too, because he could see those guys in his mirror running side by side and fighting each other, and that's playing right in to Greg Biffle's hand.
I think he knows he has enough truck to cover him. He has done a magnificent job here. We're being told in our ear right now it was Kurt Busch's radio with the yeehaw. Busch right now, it looks like Roush Racing for the 3rd time this year is going to go 1-2. This time by, white flag is out. And there is 2nd, 3rd, 4th. Look at the battle for 5th. Crawford and Setzer have changed positions on the racetrack. It's Crawford underneath now. Setzer on the high side. That's the best battle going, because it looks like it's victory number 5 on the year for Greg Biffle.
And Marty Houston and Jamie McMurray are right behind those 2.
Down the back straightaway. Kurt Busch trying to break up the draft. There you can see the battle for 5th, still side by side. And there's McMurray. Tip of the hat to the young man, 26 years old from Joplin, Missouri. He's right in the mix. He stayed there. His pit crew did a great job. And here he comes. Greg Biffle for the 5th time. Your points leader is going to win again. Behind Biffle, it's Busch, Wallace, Andy Houston, Dennis Setzer, Jamie McMurray, Rick Crawford, Marty Houston, Terry Cook, and Randy Tolsma. Then it's Briggs and Hensley rounding out the 12 trucks that are on the lead lap. And a very happy Granger Ford team high-fiving with the Exide crew as those 2, for the 3rd time this year, finish 1-2 for Roush Racing. Stay with us. When we come back, we'll head to Victory Lane and talk to our winner. We got plenty of time today to do it. The Michigan 200, where Greg Biffle has found his way to victory lane for the 5th time this year, 13th time in his career. The double arrows mean that Biffle led the most laps. The single arrow means you led at least 1 lap, and for every arrow you get 5 bonus points. So Biffle's going to strengthen his points lead. By my count, it's going to be up over 190 now. And as we take a look at the top 5 on through on down, 12 trucks on the lead lap. Some surprises. Steve Grissom we thought would do better. Of course, the one biggest surprise was Joe Ruttman. The penalty is what cost him. That got him a lap down, and he was never a factor after that. Attrition was not that bad this year. We only had the very few cautions, 3 of them here. And you can see the 3 trucks that did not finish the race. Let's go to victory lane. Dave Burns is there.
And Greg Biffle has unbuckled to the cheers of his fans and his crew for the 11th time. Actually, he hasn't finished out of the top 4 in the last 11 races. And Greg Biffle does it again with his 5th win of the year. And a quick kiss from Nicole here, Greg. It was looked like you had him really covered at the beginning, but then everyone sort of started to come up to you. Do you come back to them? Did they just catch up?
No, really, the arrow at these 8-inch spoilers, they create such a hole in the air. Once the guys can get up to you, you can't break loose. You can't get away from them, and they can just drive by you on the straightaway. I mean, they can be in front of you going in the corner of the arrows. The draft's so big, and once we can get away and run by ourselves, I can pretty much go flat and just drag the brake pedal. So guys had the chassis just perfect today. Granger Ford was awesome, and I just want to thank everybody, Granger and Roush, and that's great. Kurt drove a great race, and he was racing me for that win pretty hard, and the kid's got some talent, and he's doing real good.
Did that mess with you at all, him running side by side with you there? Obviously, Mike Wallace was in that too, but did your teammate running with you mess you up at all?
No, not at all. I mean, actually, it helped me, because he helped me stay out in front of the two a couple times and gave me a push by, so it definitely made a big difference. And I'm just so happy to be in victory lane for the 5th time and, just keep chipping away at the points. And these guys just built me great trucks.
We commented on how your truck ran so well through the corners. It seemed like the guys could suck up on you on the straightaway, but then you just pulled away in the corners. Was that one of the keys to your win today?
Yeah, it is. We got a little bit different handling package than some of the other trucks, and we predominantly done that. And we kind of did it at California last year to cost us the championship, but we've refined that program, and we got it going now.
So the corner program has been refined to perfection, huh?
Yeah, it has. It's the truck's great, and the body guys and the fab guys back in the shops, and Tom Gant, what an engine, man! I'll tell you. And the 14 used our engines this week, and I think he got a top 5 finish, so that's exciting for us.
What more can they do? Greg Biffle with his 5th win. His teammate comes home right behind him again. Amy?
And Kurt Busch is very excited, and you had a lot of fun out there today. Did you think, though, when you guys were mixing it up so much, you and Greg and Mike Wallace and even Andy Houston at times, that you had the truck that could win this race, or did you know that Greg was just that good?
He was that good. We had a tough truck. It was really a little tight, but the Excite team did a great job. We had some little trouble on pit stops. We got the thing adjusted, and that's what it took. Right at Roush 1-2 right there at the end. Just awesome day.
Well, what about some of the tight racing that you and Mike Wallace had? I mean, Mike Wallace came over here and splashed a lot of water on you, so you obviously guys are buddies now, but there was some tight racing out on the track.
Yeah, I might have diced it up a little too early there at the end. I knew if I mixed around with Biffle that Wallace would have a chance at it, so I had to make sure that he wouldn't get by us both, and then it sorted its way out where Biffle just had too awesome of a truck.
Well, you've been learning a lot in the draft and the Speedway experience, and you should be tough from here on out.
That's what we needed to do, is make every lap today. We had a real solid truck. I mean, both of us worked together, me and Biffle. It was just a great team, Biffle and I.
These teams are tough, you guys. The Fords are strong, and with Greg Biffle and Kurt Busch behind the wheel of the 2 trucks, they're almost unstoppable.
It's the 5th time this year that he has finished 2nd to go with his 2 victories. So Kurt Busch doing very well as a rookie. Thank you very much. Back with more. Well, Greg Biffle has won here at Michigan. You can see all the highlights on RPM tonight. We'll also have Busch highlights from Pikes Peak. That's going to start at 3:30 over on ESPN2. And a Winston Cup preview from Pocono. That's 6:30 Eastern Time tonight on ESPN2. Reese Davis will be with you then. For more, log on to ESPN.com, part of Go Network, go.com. Let's take a look at the championship points chase now, and Biffle has lengthened it. It was 178. It's now up to 193 over Mike Wallace. Andy Houston, 209 back. Look how close 4th and 5th. Jack Sprague only 2 markers ahead of Kurt Busch. Those 5 guys are in the chase, really. I mean, but they're going to need Biffle. He's going to have one of these races where he breaks early and finishes about 31st or worse. Let's talk to the man who's 2nd in the points, 3rd today, Mike Wallace. He's with Dave Burns.
And Mike is standing by with me. And Mike, your crew chief, Tim Cahuth, told me he couldn't find a drafting partner. He couldn't even rent one. Did you need one today in order to beat Biffle?
Well, what you had is a great race team up there, the Roush team, and that's what they were. They were teammates today. I was actually hoping I could drive Kurt hard enough that he would, race Greg really hard. But Greg was good on the top. I did everything I could. I got by them both. But when I did, one would help the other back by, and it was just drafting's a big deal here, and what we did want to do is get any more trucks involved in the race. I didn't want to, we had 2 up there, both Roush trucks, and let's battle amongst the 3 of us, so I really couldn't run 3 wide or 2 wide for long because Andy and the group behind us were coming, and it's just like, okay, let's battle out here at the end, and just got beat. But the Team ASE Ford F-150 run good. Guys at Penske Engines did a great job. Pit stops were fabulous, and just got beat by a little bit. It was a little bit of a boring race at the first, but they got exciting at the end.
Yeah, I mean, how exciting was it? We don't always see that, Sometimes the race gets a little dull. It wasn't very dull there at the end.
No, it was a little dull at first, but if people didn't enjoy that race at the end, there's nothing that's going to impress them. But I swear old Greg wore that steering wheel out going left and right down the straightaway. I was tired of catching up with it, but finally stayed out there on the outside a few times. But you're disappointed that you run 3rd. That's how I am, because I thought I had a shot at it. But I'd get behind him, and I was a little tight. I just couldn't get the air on the nose like I needed to. Then when I got a clean air, I couldn't run as fast, and got up on the outside of Greg. I get by him, and Kurt would line up behind him, and vice versa. So it was a good race. Those guys did a good job. Our guys did a wonderful job, and happy with 3rd, still 2nd in points. Just keep digging that way.
All right, another guy who dug really hard today was Andy Houston.
And he did, Dave. And Andy Houston did something unique. After lap 57, you guys did not pit again. While we saw everybody else cycling through another round of pit stops, you guys decided to stay out. Was that the right call after it's all said and done?
Really it was. We were about a fourth-place truck, and we knew that. And, you know, we were just going to try to get the track position, get out in front, and hopefully they would get to mixing up. It didn't happen. I mean, Greg and those guys caught me right off. But we wound up fourth, and that's where we were going to be, I feel like, anyway. So, all in all, pretty good day for the Cat Rental Store Chevrolet. I'd like to wish Mike Annington a speedy recovery. He's having surgery today, and I'm sure this might make him feel just a little bit better.
Well, at the beginning of the race, we talked a lot about the fender change on the Chevrolets. We showed that they did qualify better, and it helped with the stability and getting the air onto the rear spoiler. How was your race truck throughout the race?
Well, today my truck was really good, and I tell you, from where we started Wednesday, it was day and night improvement. I mean, I was scared actually to get in the truck at times on Wednesday because it was so evil. I mean, it would you didn't know what it was going to do. It would jump out from under you, and this team worked really hard to get the truck stable, and it stayed pretty stable all day long. Just not quite as good as the Fords, but better than the rest of them.
Well, he's the highest finishing Chevrolet. Andy Houston comes home fourth.
And no, don't worry, folks. We're not in trouble here. That's Chris Panzel, a member of the U.S. Aerobatic team, and he's flying some maneuvers here. Reminds us of our days at the Reno National Championship Air Races, as they put on a great display there. We've got some great racing coming up on ESPN2, 3:30 Eastern Time. The Napa Auto Care 250 from Pikes Peak International Raceway. Bob Jenkins, Benny Parsons will bring you all the action. That's 3:30 over on ESPN2. Speedway, and let's go down to catch up with Dennis Setzer and Amy East.
Well, Dennis brings home a solid top 5 finish, but with a sore shoulder and all, you gave us some of the best side-by-side shots with you and Rick Crawford there at the end. How hairy did it get out there?
Oh, it was a lot of fun there, Amy. Rick and I are good friends, and neither one of us would take each other out. We were actually both fighting over the draft in front of us, not over a position on the track, just trying to catch the draft off the trucks in front of us.
How important is it to catch the draft, especially with, we talk a lot about the aerodynamics of the Dodge, the Ford, and the Chevrolet. Now, what does your truck do when you're next to like a Ford like Rick Crawford? How important is it for you to catch that air?
Well, it's pretty tough beside another truck, but you're mostly trying to catch the air off the truck in front of you. These trucks are 59 inches tall with an 8-inch blade behind them. They're like pushing a snowplow down this track at 175 miles an hour.
Well, do you think being the highest finishing Dodge truck today that Dodge may be a little disappointed with the effort? They put a lot into their R&D department with their aerodynamics.
Yeah, you know, we expected to be a lot better than this. We were pretty good all weekend and got behind a little to start with, you know, but Team Mopar pit crew done a good job, made some good stops, got us position back up through there. Howard made some good calls there at the end, made a few adjustments, got the truck much better. I think, you know, it'd been nice to have a few more laps on the track. Rick and I were pretty good lined up, but it come time to the end, we had to kind of go racing each other and lost the lead pack right there.
Well, you guys, Dennis Setzer's season is definitely coming off the big win in Nazareth last weekend. With the sore shoulder, he brings home a top 5. Dave Burns.
And Amy, Dennis and Rick Crawford were racing hard there at the end, but Jamie McMurray came by Rick Crawford. Tell us about that last couple of laps when you knew you might have a shot to get the top 5, or at least in your case 6th.
You know, our truck after the last pit stop was great. We tightened it up just a little bit, and the truck was so good, the driver just wasn't there this weekend. I just need a little bit more experience on a super speedway track. They did a terrific job, and I got to thank the whole TKO team and Dodge especially. They gave us a lot of support this week.
So was it tough to try to put your truck between the 14 and the 1 there on the last lap?
No, they bumped quite a bit going down the backstretch, and it kind of slowed them down quite a bit. And then when we got to coming off 4, they both kind of pushed up high, and I got to duck underneath them. And I beat the 14 back, but the 1 came down and took a little bit of air off of me, so couldn't quite beat him back.
Well, 6th place is Jamie's best career finish. He's in a brand new deal with TKO Motorsports, and the future looks bright for Jamie McMurray.
I was going to say only 12 trucks were on the lead lap. Next time that the trucks are going to be in action, well, it's going to be the Kroger Speed Fest. Indianapolis Raceway Park, Thursday, August 3rd, the Power Stroke 200, 8:30 Eastern Time, and then on Friday the 4th, the Kroger 200 Push Series race. Stay with us. Here, you know, obviously we talked about it that this series was going to, this race today, you had to go through Biffle and Busch, and Chevy was nowhere around at the end except for Houston.
Well, big disappointment today for the Chevrolet teams, but you know what? A bit surprising the Dodge teams were not stronger, but IRP next week, a totally different world on the short track, and it might be a totally different story.
Coming up next, Senior PGA Tour, the Instanet Classic. That's going to do it for us. For Amy East, Dave Burns, Jeremy Dale, I'm Marty Reed. Thanks so much for joining us here on the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For more, log on to ESPN.com, part of Go Network, go.com. We'll see you next time we go racing from Indianapolis Raceway Park. That's when the Craftsman Truck Series go for round 18. So long, everybody.